Joining us today is Jillian Lauren. She is the author of the New York Times best-selling memoir, Some Girls, My Life in a Harem, and it's been translated into 14 languages. And today she is here with us to talk about her debut novel, which is so good, so spicy. It's called Pretty. And thank you for joining us today. You've been on The View, you've been on Howard Stern, and you've been on Good Morning America. We are so happy to have you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Now with this book, I'm an LA girl, and I related to so many of these characters. And where did you get your inspiration from for this book?
Well, I feel that LA is almost a character in the book. You know, it's so much part of it. And it really is based a lot on my experience living here. It's kind of a collage of, you know, issues that I've been batting around and people that I've known and places that I've loved or not loved in LA. And, you know, so it is based in my life. In some ways.
Now, Jillian, your first book, which you was talking about, came out last year. Phenomenal success. Tell us a little bit about that book and what was the inspiration behind that, and how did you realize it was going to be as successful as it was?
You know, I really had no idea. It was my first book, and I was so thrilled that it was a book that I could hold in my hand, you know? And that was enough success for me.
Do you think it was successful because of the content, talking about being in a harem? Do you think that's what it was?
I think that was certainly part of it. Yes. You know, I mean, it was certainly the, you know, dishy aspect of it that sold a lot of copies. But I really also think it's word of mouth because a lot of women are really relating to the book in a way that surprises them, and they're finding that, you know, they expected just kind of this escape, and that it actually has some emotional content.
And I like it too because in both of your books, it makes people who are in the sex industry workers, it makes them seem like real people. Like it brings the emotion to the table. It brings what happened to them, what's going through in their mind, not just, oh, ooh.
That's so true. And that was part of my mission, was to really humanize that experience and show that there are just a lot of shades of gray. It's not just either women in the sex industry are big victims, or they're these demons. There's, you know, women do this for all different reasons, all kind of women from all backgrounds. So I wanted to show that.
Absolutely. It was really. So what has been, as you're talking to women, what are some of the comments, or what are some of the things that women say to you regarding Some Girls? What's kind of been the biggest piece?
I get a lot of emails about the honesty being inspiring for people, and that is really meaningful to me and makes me feel good, because, you know, it took a lot to sort of stand up and tell my story and really stand behind my life and my experiences, and I think that that people have been really inspired by that.
And you were so brutally honest. You were brutally honest all the way.
Right.
And we normally don't feel that. You know, usually you read something and it's just kind of titillating and that's it. But you were honest. You were honest about everything that happened to you, about your background, because you are a suburban girl.
I'm a Jersey girl. Yeah, and it had to be hard to talk about some of that stuff. I mean, it just really personal and
I love, Holly, when she was talking about in the book, when you're talking about the hierarchy in the harem, and that it was really it was the goals of the women to sit at his, you know, almost the right side and the left side, and how you made it to the second in command. And how that afforded you a shopping spree. And even though I'm not making light of your experience, but you were really honest about the first time that you met him and what happened and that emotion.
And having to learn that song.
And having to learn that song, and how you really, you were like, you know what, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it well.
Absolutely.
With your new book, Pretty, that's coming out in August.
And
you're going to be on tour.
I will. I'll be on tour in September.
Tasha came in and said, ooh, that's sizzling.
You can read this a few times. Yeah. I really like this. You know, I really like some of your quotes in here. Like this one, it's when you were talking about pretty. And this is so, I think as women we can relate to this, because you said pretty isn't what pretty does. Pretty just is. Pretty is, and pretty can get you a few things, and it doesn't last long.
So whatever the hell you can do with it while you have it, go ahead and do it. And you know, that I think sums up too is sometimes why young females get involved into the sex industry, because it is something that you can do and you can use your pretty for.
Right. Right. You know, there's an old adage that I hear young girls say, you got to use what you have to get what you want. And not saying that's right or wrong, but that you know, and I think that's what you were saying there, for whatever time it can last for you.
Right, and the character who is saying that, the main character, Bibi,
she was,
actually is struggling with, you know, she's been partially disfigured in a car accident. So then she goes from having that attitude to, you know, struggling with, you know, who she really is and what is her real value. So, you know, we live in LA, and I feel like it's the world capital of, you know, overvaluing looks.
It is.
Exactly.
And I know, you know, for younger people, and I know I'm dying to ask you about your son. As a mom of 2 sons myself, I'm just like, I can't wait. Taraku is his name.
Taraku is his name.
And how old is he?
He's 3.
He's so adorable.
Yes, he is.
Oh my gosh, you can't get enough of him. But he was adopted from?
He was adopted from Ethiopia 2.5 years ago. So he was about 11 months old when we adopted him.
Wow.
Yeah.
And from what I've seen of him, he's going to have that adventurous side in him, just like you. How do you think you're going to handle that?
I think that every day I look at him and he's so strong-willed and so adventurous and just fearless, and you know, he crashes his bike into a wall and tumbles over the handlebars, and I'm like running, oh my God, he's all big smiles, like, oh God, I'm in trouble, and he loves to crash, you know.
Well, I've had so many experiences, I'm sure that.
And you were also adopted too.
I was adopted, so you know, I feel like I really, I hope I have something to offer him in that way, you know, some kind of understanding.
You know, Jillian, I want to ask you a question, being a mother. Will you think that you'll share with him those experiences when he's old enough to understand? Do you think
experiences in the book? Well, you know, they're in a book, so he's going to hear about them one way or the other. I hope that the ick factor, like, will keep him from actually reading it, and then then I'll be able to explain it to him.
But it's part of your history, and it's part of what you represent as a woman and his mother. So I think that he's going to embrace that so wonderfully.
Yeah, that's what I hope. You know, and I'll explain it to him in a developmentally appropriate way, and you know.
And you also have a full-length solo performance coming out.
I do.
Called Mother Tongue, and it's going to be at the Steve Allen Theater in Los Angeles on July 12th and 13th.
Yes, and it's a lot about, you know, about adoption, about my son's adoption, about my own adoption, about, you know, the issues of identity that come up when you're trying to sort of integrate these various influences in who you are. So that's what it's about, and I'm really excited about it.
I know that is going to be so good. Now, was there a lot? Does that take a lot out of you, because you're a mother and your husband's a musician, Scott Schreiner from the band Weezer, who sings my theme song, Beverly Hills. You know what? I meditate to that song, because some people, they meditate, you know, thinking about mountains and streams. I meditate thinking about shopping and Barney's and me being in Beverly Hills.
Thank you. That's the new woman anthem. Exactly. So your husband, thank you.
I'm going to tell them that. They're really going to get a kick out of it. The singer's a real meditator, you know. He actually does. He meditates all the time, so he'll be thrilled.
Oh, yeah, that's the new meditation.
So how do you manage everything? You're a wife, you're a mother, you're an author, you're a performer. How do you
just
manage
keeping an eye on him?
Yes.
You know, it's something that I'm really still trying to figure out. You know, the balance is just always a challenge. But I just think, you know, it's really important that we fight to have time for the things we care about.
That's right.
You know, and
that's great.
And I have terrible guilt, you know, that I'm like, oh, I could be spending this time with my son. What am I doing? But you know, I figure it's who I am, and if I'm not creating, if I'm not doing my work, my performance, my writing, I just don't feel happy. I don't feel like I'm myself.
You know what? I have a saying in my house: if mama's not happy, ain't nobody happy. I understand.
I think the key word is the balance, and just making it all work and keeping those important things right up front.
Thank you so much, Jillian.
Great.
Thank you. We cannot wait to see you.
It's been a real treat.
You want
Great talking
to.
to
Thank
you.
you.
Up next, we have Michelle Rivera from Mommywood to Hollywood.